Good afternoon and welcome to our panelists, to the attendees, and the Cummings Center staff and students, some of whom you saw downstairs when you came in. Thank you all for coming today to be a part of the first of two past, present, future dance legacy conversations organized by GroundWorks Dance Theater and led by founding artistic director David Shimotakehara. I am Joan Meggitt, Director of Education and Community Outreach for GroundWorks, and today's conversation is about dance in community. Before we begin, I would like to extend our thanks to the Cummings Center for the History of Psychology at the University of Akron, their staff and students for opening their space to us and for taking time to be here today. The center houses the National Museum of Psychology, which is the first and only of its kind in the nation, galleries, the archives of the history of American psychology, and the Institute for Human Science and Culture. The museum and galleries will be open until 3 p.m. today, and I encourage you to explore those after our conversations. I'm very grateful that we're here today, and I wanted to thank Dr. Jody Kearns, Director of the Institute, Dorothy Gruich, who is the Business Operations Manager of the museum, Jonathan Enders, our Media and Technology Specialist here, who has allowed us to have this wonderful display, and then the student volunteers, Maggie and Melanie, who you may have met earlier. Finally, we are asking the public to share their experiences with and reflections on GroundWorks Dance Theater as we celebrate 25 incredible years and prepare for our final performances in Akron and Cleveland this August. There's a board and supplies to get you started in the corner of the room, and you'll see our lead teaching artist, Morgan Ashley, back there, who can help with that as well. And now, the Dance in Community Dance Legacy Conversation. I am often asked, what is dance in community? I have been engaged in the practice for many years. I have taken countless workshops, and I have taught courses about it at Kent and Cleveland State Universities. And I am still learning. And I sometimes struggle with how best to articulate a practice that encompasses discipline, aesthetics, and recreation, includes ameliorative or therapeutic aspects, and at its best promotes cultural democracy. Community dance scholar and practitioner Sarah Houston states, arts practices develop places of creative ambiguity where participants meet others, enjoy conversation, laugh, cry, joke, swap stories, take on challenges, respond to provocations, relax, learn, create, fall in love, and feel joy. Dancing offers an avenue for participants to articulate their experiences and ways of being in the world through movement. Dance in community is an arts practice that focuses on what people can do rather than what they are unable to achieve. People engage in dance for different reasons, and dance in community practices recognize and build on those, expanding the possibilities while keeping focus on the participants and the communities that exist, are emerging, and otherwise are developing. For their part, artists are interested in pushing boundaries about where and how dance can affect people's lives. David Shimotakehara specifies, we're not just seen up on stage. There are other ways that we can use or connect what we do in the arts to something larger. That's an underlying motivation for all of this. Today, we will learn about some of those motivations, the programs that developed, the communities who were involved, and the outcomes. We have 10 organizations represented here today. You will find them listed in your program. I will introduce each one and their representatives before they talk about their partnership and share program highlights with you. After all 5 participant partnerships have presented, I will open up the floor for questions and discussion. And then we'll close with a final brief reflection from each of the people that you see here in front of you. Unless there are any questions, we'll begin. start with Dancing Wheels Company and Life, a Dementia Friendly Foundation. We have Sarah Lauren Staccato, who is the Director of Education and Marketing Manager with Dancing Wheels, and Carol Klingler, who is the founder and CEO of Life, a Dementia Friendly Foundation.
Thank you, Joan. So as Joan mentioned, I'm our Director of Education for Dancing Wheels Company and School, so it incorporates the outreach components as well. And the partnership between Dancing Wheels Company and Life started 2 years ago. In our 2022-23 season, Dancing Wheels received funding to commission Dancing Wheels artistic advisor Mark Tomasic to choreograph 2 pieces on the company. And they turned out to be 2 abstract dances, dance representations of his family's journey through dementia. They were titled Proof and 3 for Anne. These works combined made their premiere in January of 2023 as Making Memories, A Journey Through Dementia. And the company has since toured the production nationally and internationally, including Dance Place in Washington, D.C., Fallion Hall in Wilmington, North Carolina, and Tampico, Mexico. The production includes information from founding artistic director Mary Verdi Fletcher about the community partners involved. There are testimonials from the choreographer, video interview footage of people who have attended Life's Memory Cafes, either as a person living with dementia or as a caregiver, and other video and live resources from local and national memory care related organizations. At the premiere performance, we also had medical professionals and specialists in the field of Alzheimer's and dementia on stage with Mary and Mark to answer questions. Leading up to the stage-ready performance and presentation and subsequent tours, Dancing Wheels Company dancers and teaching artists took part in presentations by professionals in the Alzheimer's dementia field, including Mary Schwartz of Alzheimer's Association in Beechwood, Ohio, Lavina Fleming, author of I Love You Always, and here with me today, Carol Klingler of A Dementia Friendly Life. Company dancers also took part in training sessions led by myself and Mark Tomasic so that we could conduct movement-based classes at A Dementia Friendly Life's memory cafes, all in Northeast Ohio. The classes engage people living with dementia and their caregivers together to connect and interact through shared creative and artistic experiences. Tying to Dancing Wheels organization's mission, we are committed to building programming that addresses equality and human rights through transformational artistic practice, outreach, and performance. So, to share about life and benefits of Dancing Wheels classes at the memory cafes, I'd like to pass it now to Carol.
Thank you. So Life Memory Cafes are proud to celebrate over 8 years of providing free support to those affected by dementia and their care partner. We offer weekly meetings in 7 locations, and each feature exercise, live music, art expression, lunch, peer support, and educational opportunities. Our gatherings last 4 hours each week from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and our spaces are generously donated by local churches. These familiar and safe environments are welcoming for both individuals living with dementia and their care partners, and the care partner remains on the premises throughout the whole session. Life's mission of faith is to partner with anyone touched by dementia and offer resources, education, and engaging activities which promote and improve the quality of life, not just for the person living with memory loss or dementia, but for their care partner as well. Music and movement are central to our programs, offering significant cognitive, emotional, and social benefits. Care partners often share how meaningful it is to connect with their loved ones through music and dance, describing moments of engagement as times when they feel as though they have their loved one back with them. The cognitive benefits that come along with the movement and music are the memory stimulation. Music evokes memories and emotions from the past, often accessing areas of the brain left affected by dementia. Familiar songs can trigger and recall personal experiences and improve communication. Maintaining cognitive functioning, engaging with music and movement activities can help maintain cognitive function by stimulating brain activity. It can include tasks such as following rhythms, recognizing melodies, participating in dance, which require attention and coordination. And the cognitive benefits of the movement and music extend beyond improving cognition. They also enhance balance, foster a sense of well-being, and boost confidence. And the holistic impact underscores the powerful role that music and physical activity play in promoting overall health and quality of life. And then just emotionally, there's the mood improvement that comes along not just for the person with dementia, but also their caregiver, and can also reduce stress and a sense of identity. So music can reinforce a person's sense of identity and continuity. Songs from one's youth or significant life events can reaffirm their personal history and provide a sense of self. The emotional benefits of movement and music extend to both the person living with dementia and their care partners. These activities not only uplift spirits and enhance emotional well-being, but also strengthen the bond between them, fostering a more positive and supportive environment. And I just wanted to add that the acronym for LIFE was linking individuals and families through education and engagement. So there was a meaning behind that to try to stimulate that engagement amongst the couple. The social benefit is the group music activities such as singing in a choir, participating in dance class, encourage social interactions and help reduce the feelings of isolation. And communication, for those who have difficulty with verbal communication, music offers an alternative way to express themselves. And also I think it's important to note that music resides in the same region of the brain where our deepest emotions are stored, and for individuals living with dementia, feelings play a crucial role in their daily experiences. It's not uncommon to observe those struggling to speak suddenly begin to sing, remembering every word of a song, and then remarkably after they are able to communicate verbally. This phenomenon highlights the profound impact music can have on unlocking memories and enhancing the quality of life for those with dementia. And in summary, music and movement offers substantial benefits for care partners and their loved ones, from emotional relief and improved communication to social support and practical advantages. These activities can enhance the caregiving experience, making it more manageable, rewarding, and less stressful.
And we have some visuals here from on-site at the memory cafes with myself and other teaching artists that you will see teaching our classes. You'll notice that they're primarily seated, adaptive dance. However, we do stand or move around occasionally as well.
Our next panelists are Mia Klinger from Ballet Excel, Ohio, and her colleague Erin Miller from Road or Reach Out and Dance. Mia is the artistic director of Ballet Excel, Ohio, and Erin is the artistic director of Road, Reach Out and Dance.
My mother started the Cuyahoga Valley Youth Ballet in 1975. Her name was Nan Klinger, And she had this vision of, giving her students more than just a yearly recital, more pre-professional training. So these dancers do get the opportunity to work with choreographers, have master classes from, very world-renowned teachers and choreographers. When it first started, it was the 4th oldest youth ballet in the country, and I have not done the research to find out if we are still the only one in existence, because we are 49 years old, which is pretty amazing in the arts world. The mission, I did change it to Ballet Excel, Ohio, and I did get my mother's permission before she passed away. Her comment was pretty much, do what you want to do. It's a lot of work, so I was like, okay, well, thank you. When we would travel, it would become a problem. Cuyahoga Valley Youth Ballet, it pretty much got butchered when we went to New York or did performances outside of this area. But number one, our mission is to provide professional level training and performance opportunities to talented young dancers, and to educate young audiences in the art of ballet through original children's ballets performed by children and for children. So we are not the Nutcracker people. We are the ones that do the original ballets. We first people to ever do Fancy Nancy, first company to ever do Madeline, which we got the rights to that just a few days after my mother passed away, and I always think that we got it because of her. So road history, which is the next slide, I'm gonna hand that over to Erin.
My name is Erin Miller. I am the Artistic Director of Reach Out and Dance, which is our outreach program for Ballet Excel, Ohio. A little history about Road. We were founded in 1998 by Lori Klinger, and we are the oldest dance outreach program in Northeast Ohio. We also just celebrated our 25th milestone year. We are dedicated to educating underserved children through the art of dance. Our program in the past 25 years has impacted over 15,000 public school children and 700 children just this past year. We can go to the next slide. So our classes consist of 10-week sessions. They usually take place in either the fall or the spring. So we usually run September to about November or January to March. And we work with second graders from Akron Public Schools and Woodridge Schools. These classes consist of a 1-minute workout just to get their heart rates moving, and then we go into an around the world warm-up that teaches them about stage directions and different areas around the room. And then we learn a 4 8-count step called A, B, C, and D. So this eventually makes up their dance that they'll perform for family and friends. And all of these movements are pedestrian, hip-hop based, so they're very easy to learn. We also end the class with a reverence, so a little ballet tributes there. And we also have live music in every class. Every class we have a live musician on the piano, and it helps the kids learn about music and also shows them the collaboration of dancers and musicians. Next slide, thank you. Then we have our performance. So, students always end the 10 weeks with a live performance in front of family and friends. We bring all the second grade classes in the school together to showcase the dances they have been working on for the past 10 weeks. Each child is given a free road shirt to wear during the performance, and first and second grade students are often invited to watch. They'll also get a preview of what to expect when they eventually join our road classes. After that, we have our scholarships. So each school year, we give a total of about 70 scholarships. Road teachers pick 1 to 3 students in each class who have thrived in the 10-week session and show a recognizable passion for dance. This scholarship is worth up to over $28,000 and can be used toward pre-professional dance training at Nan Klinger Excellence in Dance. The scholarship starts with a summer program specifically created for road students and is followed by an evaluation for a full year-round scholarship. This scholarship gives the children the opportunity for free dance training until graduation. And I'm going to pass it back to Mia so we can see what happens next.
So what happens next is I take them into our pre-professional school. We do 2 to 3 weeks in the summer, which kind of narrows down the group of people because obviously I can't take so many kids. But you know, I try to look for those kids that are ignited about dance, that you could just tell, you know, love it. But another important aspect, and I found this out through trial and error, is parents have to be engaged too. You can't do it with just the kid being engaged. So after the trial period in the summer, then I take anywhere between 10 to 15 children, and they get real pre-professional dance training. We quite often try to use them as like little parts in the ballets, just to give them a taste of what it's like, you know, to be in a ballet. But usually it takes about 2 to 3 years of training before they become members of Ballet Excel, Ohio. So we can go to the next, oh, there, you did, good. Let's see. These kids then, once, and even before they get into Ballet Excel Ohio, we just open their world to dance, you know, letting them be a part of all the master classes of, you know, many of these people that come in from all over the country, the choreographers. I even have people that give support to these children that can't afford to go away to summer study, to be able to afford to go away. So they've gone everywhere from Chautauqua to School of American Ballet to Boston Ballet to Miami City Ballet. And it's just great having that support from patrons that realize how important these things are. Not only for a dancer, but also for a person. You know, my goal is always to bring beautiful people into the world. Next picture. So he's my most recent graduate, Jonathan McCrae. He started in the program at 12, a little bit later, but he came kind of through a different a way of getting into our program. He actually called, his mother called and set up a private audition, which these kids are allowed to do that as part of our Reach Out and Dance because we can't hit every child in the area. So we want to open it up that way. He stayed with me until he was 15 years old. He received a full scholarship at School of American Ballet in New York City at the age of 15. He got everything paid for, room, board, tuition, and even airfare back and forth for 3 years. He just graduated in 2024. I went to go to his graduation performance. And I'm happy to say that he was the only student in his School of American Ballet class that got an actual full company contract. It was an apprenticeship. He's actually full company, core contract with Carolina Ballet. So this is what dance can do, but even if these children don't become dancers, they will become professionals in life because they're gonna learn ballet to a high standard. So that's my claim to fame, and of course, without my mother starting this whole thing, and having the vision, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today. So I just feel really, really humbled to be able to do this.
Our next partnership is between Ohio Contemporary Ballet and the Fairmount Center for the Arts. We have Dr. Margaret Carlson, who is the producing artistic director of Ohio Contemporary Ballet. Some of you may have known it as Verb Ballets in the past. And Elizabeth Bollender, who is the executive director of the Fairmount Center for the Arts.
Fairmount Center for the Arts was founded in 1971 by a local couple named Jan and Ron Kuhlman. We are located in Geauga County, We are the only multi-arts organization that's based in Geauga County. We offer dance, music, theater, and visual arts classes and events geared towards youth and adults. I think our oldest student is 96 and our youngest is 2, so we kind of run the gamut. But in '71, when the Kumans created it, Jan was a dancer who was teaching out of her home, and they wanted to build an arts center for creating a community of people who maybe needed to find each other through the arts. And so we were established at that point to create that outpost. And, you know, like so many arts organizations, those nearly 54 years coming up now have been ebbs and flows. So during one of those ebbs, we thankfully found OCB, and it's really been a transformational experience. So I'll hand it over to you, Patty.
Yes, I think it was about 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. It all depends on when Kate joined the company, because she's a big part of this. We came into the picture because the board president of Fairmount Center for the Arts was Grant Cleveland, great-grandson of President Cleveland. And he was invited to join our board, and he said, well, I'll join your board if I can have Margaret Carlson join my board, because we are having a lot of problems at Fairmount Center. So that was how the relationship began. And when we walked into the situation, it was, I mean, I think it's safe to say the worst time in the history of Fairmount Center. One of the teachers had decided to start a commercial dance school and had taken half of the students with her. And there was no executive director. There wasn't even a way to register and pay for your classes because there was no staff. And so we were asked to come in and do something with the dance program. So the first step was trying to figure out what the dance program was that was in place, because I knew very well the history. I was part of the early days of Fairmount. And what we learned is that there were two dance systems in operation. One was called recreational dance, where they would just offer a yoga class or a tap class or something, and people would come in and just, you know, take a class. And then the other system was a fairly well established ballet program, ballet-focused program. And the students in that program were taking classes 4 to 5 days a week. They were very committed to the program. But what we discovered was we couldn't really find any record of a syllabus being in place or any way of getting all the teachers onto the same page. And so Kate Webb, who's also here in the back, a dancer in the company, Kate Webb and I put our heads together to try and figure out how to put a curriculum in place and come up with policies and basically ways to stop the bleed and then begin to grow. And so, you know, we had meetings with parents, many of whom were angry about what was going on. And so we were basically instructed by the board president to put a professional program in place. And the big thing that we did that did not go over well is that we decided that it would be placement in level would be according to ability, not according to age. And this was an institution where kids would come in kindergarten and go all the way through 12th grade with each other, and they were each other's best friends 4 to 5 nights a week by the time they were done. And that was pretty much a disaster. And so we went back to a system, redid things, and based it entirely on age. At this level, you're in for this many years, this level, and so on and so on. Now, the other thing that existed in that program is that in addition to the ballet curriculum, you were required to take contemporary and jazz. And over in the recreational program, they were busy doing these other things. And so what started to happen was the ballet program students said, well, we'd kind of like to take tap. Is that okay? And so what evolved over a period of time is that we dropped the requirement that you must take this and you must take that, and opened up the concept of electives. So if you wanted to, you could take, instead of one class, you could take contemp, or now you can take hip hop. And so we sort of broadened the elective base, if you will. So in deciding what to do by way of a syllabus, given the structure that we ended up with, we decided to try and follow a Cecchetti syllabus. Not that we were teaching an examination style Cecchetti course, but the nomenclature used in Cecchetti is very descriptive. It gives you a lot of flexibility, and it was a way of giving all the teachers who came from different backgrounds a way to be, focused on the same page, if you will. So the other thing that happened at that time, which was very notable even to this day, is that a gentleman by the name of Matthew Figge brought his daughter to take class, and I believe she was about maybe 8 years old. Matthew Figge was the president of Clark Reliance, which he inherited from his father, and a very, very extraordinarily wealthy man and a very generous man, and through his family had established the Figge Foundation. And so he would bring his daughter to class, and instead of dropping her off, he would sit there. And this was day after day. He would sit there and he would watch the classes. And the remarkable thing that happened was two things. One, Fairmount was still struggling financially, still couldn't get its feet completely on the ground, although a lot of progress had been made. He came in with his foundation and said, we're going to use this, and our specialty is turnaround, turning companies around, major corporations. And we're going to use those principles, and we're going to help turn Fairmount Center around. And the other remarkable thing that happened was his daughter, she was not somebody who was ever going to become a dancer, but she loved coming to class, and she loved the friends that she was making. And the aha moment for him was that one day, I think his daughter was 10 or 11 years old, and she ended up having to make a speech at the country club that they belonged to. And he was so blown away by her poise and her concentration and lack of being nervous that he realized, oh, this isn't just about learning to dance. This is about learning how to cope with life. This is learning about developing self-confidence. This is about learning who you are and not being afraid to let people know, all about that. And so at the time that this happened, he was probably in his mid to late 40s. He did pass away very suddenly at the age of 53. And so fortunately, the people who were the caretakers of the foundation continued that commitment, which they have continued to this day, which will now segue back to Elizabeth.
Yeah. So, with OCB's help and the Figge Foundation's help, we really helped reestablish the dance program. And then my predecessor, Jeannie Bowman-Gifford, was hired as executive director during this time. And then the pandemic happened. We all had fun with that. And the relationship with OCB has continued to evolve. So I came on in March 2022 to an organization that was like climbing out of the pandemic, starting to rethink what's our new normal, what's our new identity. And that's where I can really speak to how this collaboration has evolved. So, the time that Maggie's talking about, OCB essentially was running Fairmount's dance program. We wouldn't have had a dance program if it wasn't through the extraordinary dedication of Maggie and our instructors. And then I came on board, we started to make some changes, one of which was hiring a dance director who actually had OCB connections, but also brought other experiences as well, Andrea Belser-McCormick. And that's where we realized we needed to kind of figure out a new way of working together. And so OCB now for us is a huge instrumental partner in making sure we have an established curriculum, because while we have now evolved to not being a pre-professional program, we're very rec focused because that's what we're sensing that our community needs from us. They're looking for the ability to experience the arts as part of a larger ecosystem of things that their children or they might be involved with. So we still want a strong grounding in technique, and so OCB has really helped us refine a curriculum to keep all of our dance instructors on the same level. They've helped us evolve our levels based on the students we have, and just continue to find ways of partnering. And we rely so much on their wonderful experience and their technical experience to help us have the best dance program we have for our community. And because everybody likes a little comeback story, we're really excited that now we have 175 students that are participating across all of our dance classes. And we have a really strong preschool program, believe it or not. That's like we've got 5 or 6 classes filled with preschoolers who are just beginning their dance journey, and we still are looking for what our next phase is going to be. But we're really excited to have this partnership and reliance on the extraordinary skills that OCB brings to us. So we're really grateful for that experience as well.
Our next company is Inlet Dance Theatre. And you'll see Bill Wade down at the end, who is the founder and executive artistic director. Bill's going to talk about the Estuary.
I'm Bill. Inlet is 23 years old right now. We are a contemporary company with roots in American modern dance because of my background and lineage. We're the company that climbs on each other, if that helps you. Our aesthetic, because of people that I worked with in my background from Palabolas. We have an unusual history. As I'm sitting here, I'm like, everybody sounds so much more stable than what I've experienced. The company was nomadic, literally nomadic for 20 years. We would find rehearsal spaces here and there and everywhere all over Northeast Ohio. We had a tiny little office eventually, and the music settlement was basically a closet. Would rehearse wherever we could, would store costumes and scenic designs and props or whatever, wherever we could, including my house. And over time, I got to the age as a choreographer. I'm predominantly a choreographer, doing very contemporary work. We started landing larger commissions, and we ended up on a national tour with a production that I was commissioned to create through Playhouse Square, through the educational department. And all of this was happening. We went on a national tour. We didn't even have our own home yet, so I kind of did things in a backwards way, I'm realizing, as I'm listening. I just came, to this as it hit me, as how I kind of flowed with it. And our national tour got cut in half because of the pandemic, which we're all referencing, and we're all trying to navigate the cascade effect of the pandemic now, which is, it's a very different world. And while our tour ceased, we did 22 of the 44 performances. I ended up renovating 7,500 square feet of a very old factory, over 100 years old, embedded in a neighborhood, which is what I was looking for 20 years. What is now called the Pivot Center for Art, Dance, and Expression, located in Cleveland's underserved neighborhood called Clark Fulton, which is like right next to Tremont, between Tremont and like Metro Health Hospital, those of you that are geographically inclined. So the companies, I had to pull it up on the website while we were talking. I was like, I'm not going to be able to recite my mission statement just verbatim. To create and perform innovative dance theater at a high level of artistry, speak creatively about human life issues, and bring about personal development in the lives of individuals through training and mentoring. I love being a part of this line of people because we're all kind of doing that in different ways. I keep hearing how this is about people development and the next generation development, as opposed to not necessarily trying to create the next generation of dancers for companies, but like our motto, which is way easier than this whole thing, is using dance to further people. So everything that we do is using the dance training and the performing and the listening and the connecting and responding to real life stuff. I don't think I'm alone in realizing that, I heard this at a meeting recently this week in our space, where there still is this perception about the arts are for rich white people that wear tuxedos at events, which is never ever been my personal experience, and I've been doing dance for a living for 40 years. But there's this perception out there that this, the arts are for, a few select people, and that's just not accurate at all. So we're doing everything we can. So the Estuary, to kind of create, this is why I don't have a person with me, because I talked to 4 people from different projects that we're doing to come with me, and they're all so busy that none of them were available. So in talking with Joan, I was like, let's just talk about the space itself, because it's become a thing that I sort of lightweight saw coming and was a little bit intentional about it, I'm not going to lie, or may not have put something forward to see what would happen. Our space in the Pivot Center, we have recently branded the Estuary. So after 20 years of being nomadic and me doing this for a living and 40 years in Cleveland, as soon as we started rehearsing, which was January 2021, my phone just kept ringing, because a lot of the dance community in Northeast Ohio eventually at some point took class from me somewhere, and a lot of my former students and friends of mine who I love dearly started calling and saying, I can't wait to see your new space, come on over, take a look at it, turned into conversations. So we're also now the home of JAPO Cultural Arts Institute, which is Cleveland's West African dance, drum, and culture company. Talise Campbell is the founding artistic director of the company. She was one of my high school students when I was an artist in residence in the 90s at Cleveland School of the Arts. So she has this very vibrant company. They just did Juneteenth in our studios. It was live. It was really fun. There's also, and a lot of people don't know this, we were talking about this earlier, there's a lot of Polynesian people in Northeast Ohio, and a lot of people don't know that because they're all spread out, but they have a dance company called Pacific Paradise, and our space is also their home. So rehearsals, classes, community engagement things, performances, all of those things. I knew when I built this space out, I mean, the company's name is Inlet, for crying out loud. I'm trying to let people into this experience, right? So I wanted other people to benefit from this gorgeous, and it's quite beautiful, this new space that I'm in the process of figuring out how to fund. It's become a hub of the dance community, which I figured some people would want it. I had no idea that we would have people in our space doing things 7 days a week. So that turned into a great problem to solve, because after it happened for about 2 years, I realized we've got to get somebody in here to organize this, because this is happening to us. We're kind of not in control of it. And part of that was because I was hell-bent on making sure that if they're dance people or they're music people, chamber groups or whatever, we need a space that's accessible, that is affordable for those artists to have an elevated experience in their practices, whether it's their own classes or their own choreography or their whatever they're doing, and just have a brand new space in a part of town that's never seen this kind of stuff before. And it's kind of going gangbusters, which is kind of awesome. Yeah, our space is 7 days a week right now. The Pivot Center itself, the bigger building, which is 80,000 square feet, right? It's a huge building. It's full of, this is another thing that I may or may not have something to do with, who's in the building, because of many conversations with the guy who owns it before we renovated any of it. It's full of cross-sector arts and health and human service organizations, not just arts organizations, but here's a quick, I'm going to go as fast as I can. Rainey Institute is in there, Cleveland Museum of Arts Community Arts Center is in there, Latinus Theater, which is, they do everything in Spanish, it's awesome. Future Inc. Graphics, Dahlia Coffee Company, the Arts Conservation Group called ICA, the Cleveland Crisis Center is on the 2nd and 3rd floor, Cleveland Family Center for Missing Children and Adults, we just call it Missing Cleveland. That's Gina De Jesus, who was held captive by Ariel Castro. That happened next door. So I'm looking out my window at the plot of grass that used to be that schmuck's house. It takes one guy to ruin a whole neighborhood's reputation, right? La Mega Media is upstairs, the radio station. Councilwoman Jasmine Santana is upstairs. Every angle photography is downstairs. We all collectively, regardless of what organization we're with, we meet every month and collaboratively listen to the community, because we've got, every single person's got a different pocket of people from the community, right? So we share what the community wants and create events based on the community's needs, which has got us busy. Because so many constituents began asking for it and utilizing our headquarters, we finally named it the Estuary. An estuary is a partially enclosed coastal body of brackish water with one or more rivers or streams flowing into it, and with a free connection to the open sea. Estuaries form a transition zone between river environments and maritime environments, and are subject to both marine influences, tides, waves, influx of saline water, and fluvial river influences like flows of fresh water and sediment. This mixture creates some of the most productive natural habitats in the world, and we feel calling our headquarters the Estuary, since the space is clearly not just about a home for Inlet, but many others to use, is a perfect metaphor for why we're calling this space what we are. One of the brand new programs that's actually kind of interesting and outside of sort of like the traditional, kind of like we've been hearing, we all have programs that are outside the traditional, like, you know, cranking out dancers thing. I've done a lot of work with mental health hospital systems for years now. They have a Center for Arts and Health, it's run by Linda Jackson, who's a dear friend of mine. We've known each other since the 80s when we were both performing. They have this new thing called social prescribing for the arts. This is a model that the UK, for example, has had for decades. Different pockets of Europe have as well. This is people getting prescriptions from their medical professionals at Metro Health in this situation to participate in arts-related activities in order to combat loneliness, social isolation, depression, anxiety, and other similar issues that are kind of rampant because of pandemic. Again, cascade effect. It's a pilot program, it's just getting started. When you start something that people have never heard of, like you can get a prescription to take an art class, kind of new information for Americans, because we've bifurcated everything and put art in a separate box than real life, which is unfortunate. It's going to take some time to get started. This programming, it's been happening for decades other places. And Linda and I have been talking about this for probably 5 years, trying to bring it to America, and we finally have it. It's rough getting it moving because people are like, you want me to what? You know. But that's, so the Estuary is where all of this stuff is housed, and that's sort of my non-human partner that I brought with me.
But you know, the arts and dance can offer the parts to people with MS that healthcare can't offer. You know, it can touch on the socialization and the emotional and the psychological benefits that it offers that healthcare can't give it people with MS. So that's really the value of this program, is that we bridge those two things. Do you want to speak about the classes a little bit, Joan?
Sure. I was really fortunate that I came in on the tail end of this project, so I didn't have to write the grant, I didn't have to do the proposal or any of that. I just got the fun of creating the sessions, creating the curriculum, and facilitating them with our company of dancers. And one of the things that I think was particularly unique and important was that each participant in the study was partnered with a dancer, and then I was kind of overseeing all of that, and so those partnerships went from the day one through to the end of those sessions, and so it really allowed both dancers, the study participant and the GroundWorks dancers, so those two dancers, to create a partnership and to carry that through to the end. They learned a lot about themselves, both dancers. They learned a lot about one another, and it was really designed around not only individual expressivity, but also community expressivity. Like, how do we communicate and share as a group? And how do we acknowledge and what we've done, what we see others do, and how does that resonate with us? And I gave a lot. I'm a teacher, so I gave a lot of homework assignments. Every time we had a session, everyone had to work. They had to make something. Every single day, they had to make something. Sometimes they had to make several somethings. And we had a group warm up that we did together. We also employed the reverence, which is a tradition of gratitude and bowing at the end of a dance experience. And it was, I really saw, transformation is a word that I've heard, and I saw transformation as a result of this work. And we also collaborated with Cleveland State University, and they housed our classes for us as well. So I'm really so glad that I was able to be a part of this project.
Yeah, Joan, thank you. Joan speaks sort of to the social emotional portion of our it was, you know, it was part of our stated goals for the project, but there was something in terms of the research that we hoped we might start to uncover, and you know, GroundWorks has always been interested in exploring ways of triggering or inspiring movement exploration. So we're really interested in like changing our thinking about how do you get at movement, how do you think about the possibilities of movement, and we have a lot of tools that a lot of dancers share, but we really kind of like think about that a lot. So we wanted to apply some of those tools in this opportunity with this pilot, to see if there was a way almost to help people who normal kinds of ways of thinking about movement have shifted. They've changed. They have to think about it differently, or there is the possibility maybe for them to move differently. And there's specific physical challenges for people with MS. They have problems with, they call it gait, which is just walking and mobility. They have challenges with balance and what they call fluidity, which is something we take for granted, is just how you connect movement in a way that's easy and adaptable. And so we wanted to sort of test to see if maybe there were ways, there were triggers, imagery, tasks that we could explore with them that would kind of help them. And I'm thinking cognitively that maybe is working the brain in a very different way than it might normally. So that was that too in terms of the research. We wanted to kind of start to just look at some of that.
Yeah, we developed a study that assessed the feasibility, acceptability, safety, and efficacy of this program. So we looked at motor, we did some testing before and after with some motor tests, and a lot of qualitative questions after each class. Joan came up with a lot of open-ended questions, and so we did some qualitative analysis of those answers. And while we didn't find the motor function change much on the tests, we did find that the response from the participants was overwhelmingly positive. The sense of community they felt, the ability, just the self-awareness and self-efficacy, confidence. I think just the comments were just very inspiring. Yeah, and I think it was, so in that sense, I felt it was very rewarding and successful, just to create that, if for nothing else, to create that, right? And to start thinking about how to look at these programs in a more objective, research-oriented way. So.
everything that you said was true. I don't think I can add a thing. But in terms of the whole subject, since becoming disabled with MS, and just kind of looking at what is available, not only medical-wise, but anything. It's just amazed me how much this field has grown. And I'm just anxious to see where it's going to go and what additional studies and research will be done over the years to discover, for not only people who have various different diseases, but even for those who don't, to show how move, dance of any kind can help. So thank you for having us.
In the last 2 years, I've been able to work with David and GroundWorks, and I received a Ohio Arts Council grant to continue the kind of work I've been doing, that I base it on the gestures that the dancers make. A real breakthrough in the 90s, I was able to work with Ballet Melt in Columbus, just as a sit-in on performance type thing. But by working with GroundWorks on rehearsals, I was able to see the range of movements and the different aspects of each dancer. Everyone has a different type of dance and a different way of moving. And it was a real eye-opener, and it elevated my art-making ability from what I was doing to like this. And I appreciate that ability to sit in for a couple of rehearsals each quarter or a half year or something. I try not to be obtrusive, because I work on a large piece of wood, and I work on scrolls, and I draw on the scrolls as the people are moving, and I paste them up on the canvas and paint them in basically how I feel. The performance of Abide was a major influence on the way I was seeing pathways in dance, and that was a word that David used, and it just made a thing in my mind. Now I see it in everything I'm doing. I watched on Coventry Road having a festival, the way they walk through these streets. Yeah, I'm drawing that. Past pedestrians, modern dance, ballet, stuff I see, sports I see on TV. The movement is a revelation. In doing it over 51 years, people move differently over these years. I mean, the way the dancers were moving 25 years ago and the way they're moving now, it's just like, wow. And yes, I appreciate that. And I always wanted to find ways to give it to the community, to re-involve the community with the way of seeing motion through art. And making small inroads. They're not really big inroads, because most people don't think it's Chinese calligraphy, but it's not. It's a figure, and when you get close up and you see the motion, oh, I see what's happening. Oh. And I like that moment of revelation where I can communicate something, because I'm deaf. I hear music okay, but I'm deaf, and everything for me is body language. That's how I tell how people are speaking, or how they're feeling, or how they're acting, or who they are. And it's been a revelation, especially since I moved to Cleveland 4 years ago. I finally got a chance to really get involved with seeing Ohio Ballet performances, like at Kane Park, and I haven't yet seen Inlet. I want to, but, and all these others, just being faced with all these different people with different things, as I'm handicapped, I can understand what the kind of limitations some of these dancers may have, but it's still a splendid thing to see people move and try to reach out and express themselves. I appreciate that opportunity that Mr. Shimataka Hara gave me with Joan, with the action-reaction thing. I think it's fantastic to keep being involved with the community, building the dance community. The Heinz Pole dance thing just blew my mind. I've never seen anything like that. I live in Central Ohio. We don't really see that kind of tightened involvement with all these dance groups. So I appreciate that, and I think it's a very, very valuable community resource. Thank you all.
There's a huge challenge in front of everyone. I wonder if anyone has a silver bullet. That how do you balance the creative opportunity to engage more folks and connect them with the opportunities versus people willing to pay? Or funders willing to continue to fund?
I think I'm probably speaking for all of us here, but as much as possible, we try to offer free experiences, free performances. For the whole summer, our performances are free. But what is also happening on the other side is that our funders are pulling back on how much they're funding us. In some cases, pretty significantly. PEGS Foundation, most recently, for those of us that are funded by PEGS, did a huge cutback. And CAC, their monies are diminishing every year. And then there are some funders that have decided to stop funding dance altogether because they're trying to take what money they have and focus it on fewer things. So I think it's a huge challenge because we want for everybody to experience what we have to offer. And in a perfect world, we wouldn't charge anything for it, but then we wouldn't survive. So it is a very, very tough challenge, I think, for us. I wanted to mention something about the study that you did. This is anecdotal, and who knows, but I danced with the original Cleveland Ballet, and one of the people I danced with, her name is Mary Beth Cabana. At the age of 26, she was diagnosed with MS as a professional ballet dancer, and she made the decision to stop dancing professionally, but to become a teacher. She moved to Tucson, and she founded Ballet Tucson, where since 1980, she continues to teach, she continues to create ballets, and had all the while fighting the continued gradual onset of MS, taking all of the experimental drugs that are out there because she had to pay for her own medical insurance, because she had her own company. She wasn't in a big corporation that. So her challenge has been great, but to see her, you would just be amazed. And a big part of me is, chicken and egg is the fact that she never stopped moving, and with an understanding that a dancer has of their body. Did that help to prevent the extremity of I don't know, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Bill, what really excited about what you mentioned about the ability to have prescription. It's huge. That is huge for art services essentially, and I think these are the kinds of breakthroughs. And hopefully, it continues to be a breakthrough and is shared and spread more widely, because I don't see, there are, I think, sort of the funding mechanisms, the system for funding the arts is not going to sustain the the arts in the way it needs to. It's not, it can't be purely contributed income. There has to be, there's other sources for funding outside the philanthropic community, be it public or private. And I think this is really.
So many awesome things being said in the room, right? And I think that one of the things that is very, very clear to me is to remain entrepreneurial in your thinking. Because there's so many examples just in this row right here that are like so awesome to hear about, like all of the different ways in which our art form intersects real life without the need for tuxedos, and make an impact in the community, and freeing and involving people in our community, removing that perceived barrier that's actually not there. But I mean, there's history behind it, right? There's history why people feel this way still about the arts. But I like, just in this row alone, look at all the work that's going to eradicate this like invisible wall that's actually not a thing. It's just a thing that we've inherited in our thinking growing up, that, you know, that stuff's for those people over there is not true. It's for every neighborhood. There's talent in every single neighborhood. The ability to have access to allow that talent to develop and flourish is not in every neighborhood, which is why I chose the neighborhood I chose, for example, because I've been driving in and out of that neighborhood since the 90s when I was an artist in residence at Cleveland School of the Arts. And I knew that this stuff doesn't exist in this neighborhood, and was just waiting for the right opportunity and the right timing. But I think that thinking entrepreneurially, not just as artists, but even people in the community, to think entrepreneurial from that lens on making these connections. Like I grew up doing art and fell into dance really, really late at 18, and immediately became that guy that all the girls in my classes hated because I learned faster. I didn't know why, but I was a gymnast as a kid. I think that might have helped. And now I'm a choreographer, right? So I was like getting cast and stuff way before I had any reason to really be cast other than I was a dude. I mean, that's just welcome to the career of a guy who starts at 18. And then I moved to Cleveland in '84 to dance with Alice Rubinstein's Footbath Dance Company, which is like hardcore, old school American modern dance. And she was very serious about what she did. Not necessarily a warm fuzzy person, but she really knew her stuff. And you learn a lot in these environments, and you learn a lot about how to be generous despite the hardships. And I feel that like that kind of set me up for the now that we're all experiencing post-pandemic in a way, right? So we can like look at the landscape and see, I mean, our company does some really unusual, we still perform nationally. I mean, I just flew back from England 2 weeks ago. Like, there's stuff going on. We're doing a lot of performing, actually, but we're doing a lot of other things, like the things that people are hearing about in this line. And I think that maintaining this openness and really your ability to listen to possibilities and just play with these ideas and see what might land. I think that kind of thinking is also going to solve some of the funding issue, not all of them, but some of the funding issues. We might find resources in places that dance traditionally has not had them. I'm all about trying to find those spaces. I mean, like, that's just, because that's going to create also and inform, as a choreographer, my choreographic practice and what the content is, right? So I've got things that I'm not going to speak about that are brewing right now with different populations of people in our community that could get funding from very unusual sources and make these connections that we're all talking about of bringing people into the dance world that we so love and cherish.
So I'm Jeremy Johnson. I'm head of Assembly for the Arts, which is Greater Cleveland's Arts Council. First off, thank you for bringing this wonderful array of dance professionals and allies together. I want to mention, first off, so many of you are working with populations, MS, those who have MS, those who have dementia, those who are elderly, those who are in wheelchairs, and the population, and certainly in Cuyahoga County, is aging.
Yes.
More. So it makes me think of the funding question, the perennial question, follow the money. Although I love art for art's sake, I love dance, but The challenge of funding continues to be a challenge. Part of my whole job is how do we unlock a bigger pie? Please vote for the new tax if you're in Cuyahoga County. That'll be part of the bigger general operating support. Many of you offer discounts or funding or scholarships. What I hear you call it free, really nothing is free. Somebody's paying for it.
Say that.
Even if it's, so where do those dollars come from? I love the fact that we are in a region that is rich with health innovations, the prescription program at Metro Health, what all of our major hospitals are doing. I think there's opportunity for us to galvanize around that, as you're all already doing. I think as we have a aging population and a professional population that is working the highest levels of innovation, how can we think together? And what's going to help us to do this work together? Even coming together costs money to get to where we have to go. And sometimes that's where we run out of steam. We come together that first time or the second time or by the fourth time, you've got to run your organization. You've got a business to run. So I think that's where some intermediaries, local arts councils, so I wanted us to share that. The last thing I want to share, back to funding, is you mentioned Ohio Arts Council. You got support for them. We've got to continue to advocate for support for Ohio Arts Councils, your local regional councils. You may have heard this past couple of weeks, the state of Florida has axed all of their state arts funding through their governor. Zero. Axed. Can you imagine Ohio Arts Council axed? No. We cannot take this for granted. So advocacy, I guess, is my final statement. The work that you all doing requires advocacy, and there are partners here to advocate for you. So thank you for your work. And let's think, how can we galvanize around these alternative ways to get funding and partners outside of your usual state funding and your usual state arts councils, although we need them too. And it looks like some of you are finding ways to do that. So thank you for that.
Did you? Yep.
No, I
He
pretty much
said it.
went in the direction I was going, so yes, thank you. Yes.
Can I have one word from everyone in the room? One word that you're going to take away. One thought you're going to take away. Sarah, can I start with you? What's one word you're going to take? One thing you're going to take away.
Connections.
All right.
Excitement.
Impact.
Variety.
Inspired.
Allies.
I really like the connections one.
Yeah,
so
you can
I
repeat
steal
it.
that
If it's worth
too.
repeating,
Yeah.
repeat it.
Connections,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna say advocate. We just had.
Humbling.
Jeremy?
Oh, full speed ahead.
Okay, all right. I'll take
With
it.
a dance
3 words.
between.
Go ahead.
A dance between.
Curiosity.
Curiosity, Chris?
Transformation.
One word. One word to describe today.
I'm a lip reader, I can't understand.
One word to describe your feelings today.
One word to describe today.
Community. I feel like there really is a community
All right.
in Northeast Ohio.
Thank you. Ashley? Hope.
What was the word?
Hope. Hope. Cindy?
Openness.
Scale up. You all need to take what you're doing and scale it up.
Morgan?
Enlightening.
And back here?
Togethering.
Togethering?
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna add gratitude. Gratitude, yeah. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you to our panelists.